police have released the actual figure, take all their savings or take all their pay. If you are under abuse, you might find yourself.
Do remember to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell for more contents.
Hi everybody, I'm Zionette Esther. Last week, I've started my abuse series, which I have shared about cycle of abuse on the first episode. For today, I'll be sharing on what are the red flags of abuse that you can watch out for in your relationship. Globally, 1 in 3 women experience domestic violence in their lifetime. 38% of murder of women are committed by their male partners. Whereas in Singapore, 1 in 4 women have experienced domestic violence in their lifetime. I don't have the statistics for male victims, but I will be using the statistics of England for comparison purpose. In every 3 domestic violence cases, 2 of them will be female victims, 1 of them will be male victim. Although there are many male victims around, but it is harder for them to seek help as compared to female victims. Since circuit breaker have started, there is 22% increase in family violence. On 21st January this year, Straits Times have reported that the police have released the actual figure of the domestic violence cases reported for the first time. In total, there were 5,135 cases reported last year. And can you imagine, this is just the cases that is being reported? And what about those that is staying hidden in the society? So can you imagine how alarming these are and how much abuse awareness there should be in this society? Often, physical and sexual abuse are easier to identify because there might be wounds on the victim's body. However, for emotional and psychological abuse, it is harder to identify because it usually attacks the heart and the mind of the victim. But most of the time, emotional and psychological abuse will occur first before physical and sexual abuse happen. I'll be sharing some of the red flags of emotional and psychological abuse that you can spot in your own relationship, or you can watch out for other people's relationship as well. So for the first point is, the abuser will attempt to crush the victim's self-esteem. They'll be doing this by firstly embarrassing the victim in front of others, meaning in front of family, friends, or in the eyes of public. And in the daily communication with the victim, the abuser might add in sarcasm and insults to belittle the victim of their achievement, of their entire being, or whatever things that they actually do. Some of them, they could even say like they are from rubbish chute, they are not worth anything, they are retarded and stuff. Most of the abusers, they will have and tends to do dismissive actions, which is eye rolling, head shaking, and also signing. All this non-verbal communication, it affects the victims as well. And sometimes non-verbal communication speaks louder than verbal communications. Secondly, the abuser will have blaming and denial nature. Whenever a victim brought up a topic to discuss or confront, the abuser will tend to avoid having all those conversations with them. And even if the victims manage to start the conversation, start the discussion, the abuser will tend to turn the table against the victim by pushing all the faults and blame to them, saying that nothing is of their fault, nothing is of their responsibility. Some of the time, the abuser might blame the victim for any misfortune things that they face. For example, the car is being scratched, they are being scolded by the bosses or anything. The victims might find that the abuser denies everything that he or she have said. If let's say the victim asks the abuser to stop abusing them, the abuser will tend to deny the fact that they have abused them, and in turn, they will say that the victim is the one that is abusing them. And for the third point is, abuser will tend to have manipulative behavior. They will usually control the victims psychologically and financially. Financially meaning they will restrict the victim's financial freedom. Some of them, they might take all their savings or take all their pays. They might not allow them to buy certain things that they want or restrict their access to money. For psychological control, they will be using threats to make the victim submissive. Sometimes they might use others as an example, like saying, this person is a better wife, that person is a better husband, this person is a better in-law, that person is a better employee. Most of the time, abusers' greatest weapon is using guilt, meaning they will use the victim's past mistake to guilt trip the victim and make them feel bad towards them and hence controlling their behavior. The tonality of the abuser will always be lecturing tone to make the victim seems to be beneath them. They will be treating them like a kid, restricting their ability to make their own decision for themselves. Some of the worst cases, the abuser might restrict the victims from accessing healthcare necessity. For the fourth red flag is the abuser will isolate the victim and neglect the emotions and feelings of the victim. Previously, I mentioned that the abuser will avoid the topic that is being brought up by the victim. How they do that is by shutting down all kinds of communication with them because they do not want to know, they do not want to listen or understand the point of view of the victim. They will tend to dehumanize the victim by restricting them of their basic human needs. For example, Maslow hierarchy of needs like food, safety, shelter, human interaction. They will isolate the victim from their family and friends. Sometimes they might start to badmouth the victim in front of family, friends, or their colleagues or anyone that they know and make other people have a bad impression of the victim, thinking that the victim is the one that is at fault. This is actually a cycle. When in that situation, victims will usually be very sensitive because of all the things that is going on around them. Hence, when they notice the different behavior from the family, friends, and other people, it will in turn crush their self-esteem even further, thinking that every single things that happen is their fault. Abuser will also tend to be indifferent to the victim's emotions by putting down their feelings and saying that they shouldn't be feeling this way. Most of the time, they will withhold physical and verbal affections such as singing praises to the victim, hugging them, kissing them. Mainly all those loving gestures, they will restrict them from the victim unless it is in the reconciliation or the calming stage. You can refer back to my previous episode on the cycle of abuse. There is no equality or balance in an abusive relationship. Most abusers have anger issue and narcissist behavior. They will usually see themselves as a higher being, meaning to say they will look down, despise, and they lose all kinds of respect for the victim. If you are under abuse, you might find yourself feeling this way. Walking on eggshell, there might be a sense of mistrust, meaning to say you don't trust yourself anymore, and you might feel that the abuser don't trust you as well. You might find yourself to start isolating yourself from your family and friends because you don't want to feel that kind of judgment from them because of the bad mouthing. You might feel a deep sense of loneliness within you because you don't feel that anyone can understand. You might have a loss of self-worth and self-esteem thinking that you are the worst person on earth. You might find yourself having difficulty in making your own decision because you're not sure whether is it the right decision or bad decision, as the abuser might tell you that every decision that you made is wrong. And you might constantly feel like you are not at ease, feeling like you have done something wrong and you can't be at peace with yourself. Even if you are in a fight with the abuser, you might find yourself freezing up, meaning to say you feel that there is no point to fight for yourself anymore. You will feel helpless. Next week, I will be sharing about how you can prevent yourself from getting into abusive relationship and what you can do if, let's say, you're already in an abusive relationship. If you can identify yourself from all the pointers that I have mentioned today, I suggest for you to call the hotlines in the description below. Just straight away go and seek a help. That's all for today's sharing. If you like this video, do like, subscribe and share. It will be a really great help if, let's say, you can do those for me, because it will really help me with the YouTube algorithm to reach more people. I will see you in the next episode. Thank you. Bye bye.